is going on, Jets fans? This is Luca here from Gang Green Chronicles, and today I will be recapping day 2 of the New York Giants New York Jets joint practices. This one being held at the Giants facility at Quest Diagnostics Training Center. But before I get into the recap, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you know when I go live or drop a new video. Regardless, let's get into the recap. So to start, we'll go with some injury updates real quick. Sauce Gardner did not practice as he had a calf injury, as reported by head coach Aaron Glenn. Quinn Williams also did not practice today with a calf injury. Jermaine Johnson, who was recently taken off the active PUP list, he did not practice as well as he is continuing to recover from his Achilles injury and continuing to do his rehab. Jets should do right by Jermaine Johnson, having him ready and fully healthy for week 1. So to look into the theme of this practice, and the theme of this practice for the New York Jets was the massive offensive line struggles versus this ferocious Giants defensive front. It's not only that they have 4 phenomenal edge rushers, or just in total their interior presence too. You obviously have Abdul Carter, you have Dexter Lawrence in the middle, you have Kayvon Thibodeau, you have Brian Burns off the edge. And this is, I'd say, the first time the Jets faced a real defensive front. Not that they didn't face him yesterday, but overall, this is the first time the Jets have had real struggles in training camp in terms of their offensive line. So starting with Josh Myers, he started with the ones at center to open the practice, and he struggled. He struggled mightily with Dexter Lawrence in pass protection and on one-on-ones. He also struggled run blocking for the Jets, and the Jets early on could not get a lot of running holes due to the struggles of Josh Myers. Joe Tippmann, on the other hand, who is currently battling for that center position, started out with the 2s, and he fared off a little bit better, handling some of the better interior defensive linemen for the Giants, but he did struggle with a high snap or 2 per Nick Faria of the New York Jets beat. Moving to the tackle position, this was a massive struggle for the New York Jets. Armand Membou and Olu Fashanu most notably. Membou handled Kayvon Thibodeau for a few snaps, but he did struggle with Abdul Carter. A similar theme that was going on yesterday. Abdul Carter had a nice 2 days against the New York Jets offensive line. Another offensive lineman, Olu Fashanu, he struggled as well with Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter. Even Brian Burns at times as well. It just shows that obviously these 2 offensive linemen are very young and they still have a lot to learn. They've been coached up well, I would say, but this is, as I said, their first time facing a front like the Giants, and the Jets will face a very ferocious front in week 1 against the Steelers in the regular season, so I'd say this was a very good learning lesson for both of the young offensive linemen. And it wouldn't be your normal joint practice without some scuffles. There were reportedly a few scuffles that broke out with the Jets offensive line. AVT and Rakeem Nunez-Roches battled it out. Also, with some other scuffles too, putting aside the offense for a second, Will McDonald and Qantas Stingers got into a brawl with John Runyon and Greg Van Roten, ironically former Jet. Also as well, Peyton Page, the rookie, undrafted rookie free agent, battled it out with Jake Kubas. They had a little bit of a scuffle as well. So this was one of your more chippy practices. In terms of taking it away from the offensive line and moving to the offense itself, Justin Fields had a day when it came to 7-on-7s. He had 4 touchdowns, 2 of them going to Breece Hall and Tyler Johnson. Andrew Beck was featured as a favorite in the passing game, and he is very much vying for one of the Jets' tight end spots. And I duly think he should make it, barring any unforeseen injury or unforeseen bad progress from Beck. So look for Andrew Beck to make the roster for the New York Jets. In terms of the other things that we're seeing on the offensive side for the Jets, Jeremy Ruckert did not have a good day. He was beaten blitz coverage and picking up the blitz. And pass protection, he continues to have a very down camp. Really hasn't made an impact, so you could either say he's a net negative or he's a net neutral, which is a bad sign for the former third-round pick from 2022 when you have guys like Stone Smart. Mason Taylor's back in camp healthy, which is a good sign. Andrew Beck, the aforementioned Andrew Beck I mentioned, and it looks like Jeremy Ruckert is slowly but surely finding his way out of the Jets roster and potentially being a waiver wire cut. Despite mentioning that the Jets did not have a strong running game today, Braylon Allen went off for a nice long touchdown. Moving to 2 impressive players who have been, I'd say 2 or 3 impressive players throughout training camp. Arian Smith made one hell of a deep catch from Adrian Martinez, excuse me. The ball looked underthrown, but Arian Smith was able to go up and get a high point the ball. And the biggest problem with Smith not only was the catches, but his inability to high point the ball in college. Obviously, his blazing speed is there, but if you want my honest opinion, he's been coached well in this training camp. Not only that, but he is pretty much the front runner to be the Jets wide receiver too, and that is a far cry from a lot of the reactions, including myself, to the reaction I had when the Jets drafted him in the 6th round, or I should say the later rounds, when we all knew he was a project. And he seems to be coming along in training camp, but to say that it could be two things, right? It could be wide receiver 2. The Jets clearly don't have have a lot of buddies, but a lot of disappointments, or not a lot of players showing much. Or it could be just Arian Smith really showing off his raw talent and his future as a Jet, obviously having a really good role, or a really prominent role in this offense. Another two on the minor side, on the offensive side of the ball, Brandon Smith and Jamal Pritchett had some nice days as well. Jamal Pritchett had a touchdown. Brandon Smith also saw some action in the wide receiver game, was an early favorite of Justin Fields. And I forgot to mention something about Arian Smith as well. He also made his impact on special teams. He forced believe it was a muffed punt, it was a muffed punt from Turbo Miller. He forced a fumble, and the Giants coaches were not happy with Turbo Miller afterwards. But you're seeing the versatility from Arian Smith. He was returning kicks. Now he's playing gunner and forcing fumbles, and he's obviously now being a prominent member of the Jets offense. So Arian Smith is pretty much opening a lot of eyes for not only just Jets coaches, but Jets fans in attendance. Moving to the special teams real quick, I briefly remarked on Arian Smith. Donovan Edwards was taking punts, and it's interesting to see Donovan Edwards' growth as a player throughout training camp as an undrafted free agent out of Michigan. I mentioned in my previous video I wasn't high on Edwards, but he had a really good game against the Green Bay Packers in the game 1 of the preseason, and he just continues to open eyes now that he's taking punts. Maybe he steals a spot away from Xavier Gipson, who could be on the outside looking in, obviously with Brandon Smith and Arian Smith also performing amicably as well. And as I mentioned, Gipson being a member of special teams, and Nwangwu and Malachi Corley were also taking returns. Nick Folk was 6 of 6 with 2 field goals from 50-plus yards. He continues to have a nice camp as a reunited Jet member. But all things seem to be looking promising on the Jets special teams unit. Moving to the defensive side of the ball, I mentioned the players that were out. Will McDonald actually had a nice day, beating Marcus Ball off the edge for a sack on Jackson Dart on a naked boot play. He also, I believe, sacked Russell Wilson as well. But another player that has also impressed during training camp and the preseason, Jay Tufele. Now, yes, this is without Quinnen Williams, but Jay Tufele stepping up to be the DT2. He's been the front runner so far. Byron Cowart, I think, is back practicing, if I'm not mistaken, but Jay Tufele has outplayed Byron Cowart this far, and most saw that Cowart was the better player heading into training camp than Tufele. But Tufele had 1.5 sacks against the Packers and had a sack today. Unfortunately, it wasn't counted due to a Jets penalty, a hold on the defensive side of the ball. But another theme of the Jets defense today, besides Tufele having a nice day, same thing with Will McDonald, was the secondary struggling without Sauce Gardner. And the safeties were struggling, a lot of lack of safety help. So the Jets hopefully can get Sauce Gardner back relatively soon, but relatively healthy as well. And hopefully this is not a common theme. So if you want to just do overall takeaways, very rapid fire, Justin Fields for the Jets dominated on 7-on-7s, but struggled with an 11-on-11s due to the lack of pass protection. Jets offensive line struggles with the defensive rush from the Giants. Sauce was out with calf soreness. The defense clearly struggled without him. And Arian Smith and Jamal Pritchett continued to shine in practice, 2 of the rookies. But with that being said, guys, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so when I go live or drop a new video. More videos coming along the way. The Jets and Giants will play this Saturday at 7 o'clock. Talk to you guys later, and go Jets.